Hello everyone, my name is Jose Oscar Salinas with Unite Christians and Jews. Today's video is about what is the name of the beast who consecrated the world to the image of the kingdom. While some teach us to look for the Antichrist with or without intent to distract us from the real problem, the Bible teaches us to look for the one who rules the world because he's about to test us. So I hope you give me a chance to share what I discovered after organizing the entire Bible in chronological order and comparing it with history. And may God bless you with understanding. In this line, I'd like to share my presentation front cover, representing the topic from the 16th century Bible called the Book of Miracles. This confirms that one photo is worth 1,000 words and is one of the best illustrations I have ever seen after organizing the Book of Revelation, especially chapter 13, that the state beast commanded the church beast to deceive the saints to worship the image of the kingdom and accept the laws of the kingdom that turn you away from God, or he calls on fire, referring to tribulation on the people. That includes you cannot buy or sell, in which the image is no other than the Queen of Heaven that was set up inside the first temple and made it desolate in 587 BC and died away, but revived in 325 according to chapter 13. So my goal is to name the beast kingdom that revived her, though I hope you've seen my 4 playlist videos on who the beast and the image are, so you fully understand what I'm about to teach you. This is my presentation outline with 7 things I will share. 1. Review the book of Revelation chapter 13, so we could define the name of the beast. 2. Name the beast and not the Antichrist, because the Bible is not telling us to name the Antichrist. 3. Name the second branch government system, state and church. 4. Name the beast kingdom that is not, yet it is, who's trying to deceive us. And 5. Name the beast that consecrates the world to the image. And 6. Name the beast that made war with the saints. And 7. Name the beast planning to set the image inside the third temple. In conclusion, because at the end, God will send his angels to destroy those who follow the beast. In this slide, I'd like to show you 4 ways to identify the beast and warning you about 3 groups not to listen to because they're misleading you with or without intent. 1. Calculate the number of the beast kingdom. It's the number or name of a man that adds up to 666 per chapter 13 verse 18. 2. Describe the beast kingdom characteristics from chapter 13, which clarify that the 4 beasts from the book of Daniel unite into the one world empire. 3. Compare Revelation beast kingdom with church history if prophecy came to pass. And 4. Compare Revelation beast kingdom with the book of Daniel beast if it's the same beast. And 5. Yet I recommend that you do not read fictional books that distract or mislead you. And 6. And do not listen to prophecy experts who distract you from knowing the name with or without intent to mislead you. And 7, do not listen to pastors who say not to worry, just love one another, in which I say they are the most dangerous and reckless with the intent or without intent to set you up for the fall, especially after hearing the truth, and do not humble themselves to discern it. So starting with the first approach, verse 18 says, calculate the number of the beast. It's the number or name of a man that adds up to 666, in which it has to do with the Roman Empire. Nevertheless, attached is a chart I found on the internet that shows numeric equivalent of Hebrew letters can be found in the Encyclopedia Britannica under the language of the world Table 50, or in other sites from great scholars who came up with this formula or confirmed it. Though I have to say it's hard for most of us because we don't understand the numeral system, though the results are the same, as I conclude simply because I compared the description of the beast with history. Next, I'd like to show you a simple way to name the beast state by reading chapters 13, 1 through 10, and asking who in front of 10 characteristics or prophecies that started and will continue until the end. 1. Who rose out of the sea in verse 1, in which historians confirm Rome was the fourth beast from the book of Daniel that ruled during the first century. 2. Who has 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns? Again, Rome, in which I explained in my previous video, who is the first beast. 3. Who is like a leopard, bear, and a lion? In verse 2 shows that Rome united with Greece, Persia, and Babylon as the United Nations, the 4 Gentile nations from the book of Daniel. Plus, Rome will lead his 3 allies from the book of Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20. 4. Who was mortally wounded and revived during history? 13:3 shows Rome, which I explained in my previous video. And 5. Who has authority from the dragon? Per verse 4, Rome, plus chapter 12, verse 3 implies that the dragon gave authority to Rome, and chapter 2:13 warns the third church where Rome's imperial palace was during the first century. It says, I know your works, where you dwell, same throne is, who martyred millions that did not accept the mark or the laws of Rome. 6. Who worships the dragon, in which I explained in previous videos also that I took dozens of photos showing the Vatican crowning the dragon inside, because one day I had a dream that God was going to show me something at the Vatican that people need to know. Plus, this verse inspired me to see if there was a place. So, as a concerned Catholic searching for truth, I spent approximately a month in Rome. 7. Who was given a mouth speaking blasphemies? 13:5 says, I only know, which shows that I only know Rome and the United Nations that has created laws that turned us away from God and twisted doctrines to worship the image of the kingdom. And 8. Who cursed God, his name, and his temple? According to 13:6, the book of Daniel shows that the fourth kingdom cursed God, most likely because the godlies would not allow him to set his image inside the second temple. So he cursed God and burned it down in 70 AD, in which he will try again during the third. But the godly will fight against it until God sends his angels to protect them. And 9, who granted to make war with the saints, or who is granted? Verse 7, I'd say every true Bible scholar and historian will say Rome, and if they say otherwise, I will question his calling, because he's setting you up for the fall with or without intent to mislead you. And 10, who forced or deceived millions to worship him? And in 13:8, it's speaking of Rome and the United Nations, who has 17 goals by 2030. So I encourage people to check out their website so we can prepare and help each other. In this slide, I like to confirm the name of the church beast in Revelation 13:11 through 18 by comparing church history and showing you a painting illustrating that the Roman Empire in 325 commanded the ecumenical Christian churches to create a universal doctrine that would deceive many into worshiping his image. That led to the separation of the Eastern Christian Church from the universal Western Church. Plus, in my previous videos, I shared that this Russian war is the same ecumenical council war from 325, in which the Western Church is trying to make Russia accept the New World Order, to worship the image by imposing sanctions that they cannot buy or sell. So let me clarify by showing 7 tips. 1, that the state beast commanded the church beast to deceive them that dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast. 2, it commanded the church to revive the image of the Queen of Heaven and to cause her to speak, which had happened in 2017 during the apparitions. And 3, so the image sent a message to the Pope to consecrate the world to worship the image. And 4, so the state listened and declared war to kill those who refused. And 5, it also commanded the church to cause all to receive a mark, laws and doctrines on their right hand, which is works, and in their forehead, which means in your mind. And 6, that no man may buy or sell unless he that had the laws and doctrines of the Roman kingdom. And 7, here's the wisdom, let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number or name of a man. Roman. Nevertheless, verse 18 tells us to name the beast kingdom described in 18. Verse 18. Every true Bible scholar and historian will say that it's warning us about the revived Roman Empire, disguised as the United Nations, especially after I show you additional information. Furthermore, we need to read the book of Daniel, chapter 8, that confirms his name simply by asking who is he talking about in 12 descriptions, starting with verse 9. 1. Who is the little horn who comes from the fourth kingdom? Rome. Who took away the daily sacrifice from the Jewish temple? Greece and Rome. 3. Who casted truth down to the ground or twisted God's word and prospered? Rome. And 4. Who was predicted to rise in the latter days from the fourth kingdom, who has evil features in verse 23, basically Rome based on church history. And 5, who understands sinister, plots evil, deception, and twists God's word, Rome. And 6, who was known to be a mighty empire, but not by his own power. And that concludes Rome. And 7, who destroyed fearfully the holy people and prospered during history? Rome. And 8, who caused deceit to prosper under his kingdom? And that is Rome again, promoting Pax Romana, which is a whole different of sincere peace. 9, who devoured many and prospered, confiscated property, became rich, and that concludes Rome and the Catholic Church during the Inquisitions. And 10, who exalted himself as God in his heart, not physical temple, and that was Rome. 11, who shall even rise against the prince of prince in the end? And Rome referring to Michael the archangel, that many believe it also means Jesus. And 12, who shall be broken without human means, which all the prophetic books confirm that God will destroy Rome and his 3 allies in the end. With this slide, I'd like to show you that the entire book of Revelation warns us about the fourth Roman kingdom, from beginning to the end. And by using my original scroll layout, I like to point out that 1, in chapters 2 to 3, Jesus warns the church 7 times that he who overcomes the Roman beast doctrine will be subject to trials, but not God's judgment. And 4 through 7, Jesus pronounced the 7 seal judgments because the saints did not listen. And chapter 13 verse 7 confirms that it was given unto him, which was Rome, to make war with the saints to overcome them, and that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the book of life. And at the end of the book, 21 verse 8 through 8 says, he who overcomes the Roman beast shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the ungodly shall burn with fire. Yet it also warned us that false teachers have slipped into our assemblies who would try to deceive us. So I pray that people wake up and prepare your church. But if they're not willing, I encourage you to leave, because he's likely getting paid by the Roman kingdom not to warn you. Here I'd like to show you my 7 warnings to the church chart that explains why God pronounced the 7 seal judgments on the saints, because 2:21 says they did not listen to the warnings. Though the point of this chart is that it repeats one phrase 7 times. He who overcomes. And the question people should ask, overcome what? Which implies to the Roman Empire. For example, Revelation 2:20 through 26 says, as many as do not have Jezebel's doctrine, which means the Church of Baal's false doctrine, who have not known the depth of Satan, as they say, I will put on you no other burden, but hold fast what you have till I come. He who overcomes the beast, the kingdom, and keeps my works until the end, to him I will give power over the nations. Now I'd like to clarify that the book of Revelation is not telling us to look for the Antichrist, like some teach. It's warning us to name the beast's kingdom, who was allowed to test us to see if we would accept the mark and the image of the beast, in which I will share 5 names that many use and are partially correct, and a type but is not, yet it is, per chapter 17, 10 through 11. Then I will confirm his name that everyone should warn the church or leave, because he's mostly distracting you from the real problem. 1, they teach to look for the Antichrist, but 1 John chapter 2 and 2 John chapter 1 say that there were many Antichrists in his time, plus it's one who does not believe in both the Father and the Son. And 2, the man of sin, yet it refers to the state, first beast of the 2-branch government system, per 2 Thessalonians 2. And 3, the lawless one, though it refers to the false church, 2nd beast branch, that is also called the false prophet, per 2 Thessalonians 2, which points to the Catholic and ecumenical Christians who we need to warn the world. And 4, yet lots of people say Revelation is warning us about Emperor Nero, because his name adds up to 666, which it might, but he ruled during the Roman Empire from 54 to 68 AD. And 5, some say to warn that it's warning us about the USA, in which they are partially correct because it's the main puppet of the United Nations, but mainly the Democratic Party, who's trying to take your guns so the United Nations could enforce the New World Order by 2030. And now I'd like to confirm the name of the beast with 3 additional tips so everyone could encourage their pastor to prepare the church or leave, because more likely they're distracting you from the real problem. And basically, 1, the beast comes from the 4th beast kingdom from the book of Daniel. 2, verse 18 says it has a man's name, which 666 adds up to Roman, that fits the description. Plus, we know from history there's only one empire that has caused wars, known to many as the revived Roman Empire. And 3, the name of the beast is Roman under the United Nations because it rules 193 countries, which is a new view to many, because some teach to look for the Antichrist, with or without intent, to distract us. Nevertheless, I verified it without doubt in my 5 videos on the subject, and in my coming soon book with much more details. And we need to warn people because it's under a deceptive name promoting Pax Romana. 17 goals, a false peace plan by 2030 that triggers the one world order, that you cannot buy or sell unless you accept the mark of the beast. So I pray that everyone asks their teachers to call the beast by his name so we can be ready for 2030 goal to enforce the one world order, per my other videos. With this slide, I'd like to clarify what chapter 17, 10 through 11 means about the 7 kings. It says, there are also 7 kingdoms. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. The beast's kingdom that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is the 7th, and is going to perdition. Basically, it's in plain language, the 5 refers to previous world empires before the 6, which was the Roman Empire. and that rose in 63 BC. But most important is that the 7 is the revived Roman Empire from 325 under the name of the Catholic Church. And the 8th is also the same Roman Empire under a new name called the United Nations, which fits the description in chapter 13, yet causes some confusion, but it's easy to see when you compare it with church history. Now, as I'm wrapping up my presentation, I encourage people to break up the verses to short sentences so you could clearly understand the book yourself. Plus, keep these 5 tips that identify the 2 branches of the one world government that causes war, so no one will ever deceive you. 1, the first beast is the Roman state. 2, the second beast are the 2 Roman churches. And 3, the image is the idol of Rome. And 4, the mark of the beast are the laws and doctrines of the state and church. And 5, the name of the beast is the revived Roman Empire under the United Nations. And below are my 2 shortest sentences to identify the beast. 1 is that the United Nation creates the laws that makes a sin against God, or you cannot buy or sell and trade. And the second is that the 2 churches twisted doctrines to consecrate the world to worship his image. And to make it easier, let's show you some symbols. This is the first beast, the first state beast logo with his laws that are enforced by, that they're going to try to enforce by 2030 to take your guns so they can rule the earth. And this is the second beast logo with his twisted doctrines from 325. Basically, as I explained before, that they twisted the Bible to deceive you to worship the image. And this is the symbol of the dragon crowned inside the Vatican, who controls both. And this is the United Nations Lady of Peace and Love, whom the Pope consecrated Russia and the world. And he uses all the right words to draw people to the image, but they don't tell you about the United Nations Lady of Justice, who is illustrating war if you don't accept the laws and doctrines of the state and church. And with that said, I hope I made it easy to understand. And one additional point that I'd like to point out, both Babylon and the Roman Empire had the same goddesses, one who taught peace and the other one who waged war on those who did not accept the doctrine. So please check out my 5-video playlist that clarifies 5 tips to identify the 2-branch government system. One thing you will notice from all my videos, I used old drawings from the 1500s because good teachers used to warn people by describing the beast, versus today, false teachers have slipped into our assemblies teaching only about love. So I encourage godly leaders that it's time to clean the house and warn people before judgment comes upon them, starting with who is the first beast kingdom. Then, who is the second beast kingdom with 2 horns that twisted scripture? Then, what is the image of the beast that explains the idol of the kingdom that was wounded after the first temple period and revived by the ecumenical councils? Then what is the mark of the beast? Because as I explained, in the last days, an angel of the Lord will command the trumpet angels to search the minds on which law you accepted, the law of Rome versus the law of God. And my 5th video is what I'm showing you now. What is the name of the beast that rules the earth? Then after, please see my coming soon video, Who is the Mystery Babylon, from chapter 17, because it's the secret religion that controls the United Nations. Because many are not aware that they control 193 countries out of 195 who is preparing to enforce the New World Order, which are 17 goals by the year 2030 that have some great goals we love to hear, but in small print, 3 laws are bad. For example, number 5 makes us sin against God. Number 10 teaches equal opportunity for all, but somehow triggers racism and neighbor against neighbor. And number 16 states that only peaceful societies will achieve peace by disarming the world with a global campaign, which I explained in my previous video. It's the most dangerous goal right out of the Nazi rulebook. And yet, I get it. Some say, how can I say we need to warn everyone about Rome and the United Nations? I say because the book of Daniel warned us that Rome is one who understands sinister, ways to distract us from looking for the real problem. Yet, if we compare church history with the book of Revelation prophecies, we will see the problem. For example, the Roman Empire and religion ruled from 63 BC to 312 against the earth. The Roman Empire revived under a new name called the Catholic and Ecumenical Councils in 325, only to deceive the earth. And many call it the Roman Byzantine Empire, which started friendly like a lamb up to 380 AD. The state made the Catholic Church the state religion, and in 431 revived the kingdom's image. Then Rome spoke like a dragon that no one could buy or sell unless they accepted the laws and doctrines of the kingdom. That confirms where the division started between the East and the Western Church, because the East would not worship the image. Then Rome and Germany united, called the Holy Roman Empire in 753, declaring war against the saints. And 5, Rome and Germany united and called on the Crusades to declare war against Islam. And then 6, Rome and Germany united to set up the Inquisitions, declaring war against the saints and killing more people than we could ever number. And 7, Rome and Germany united 4 countries declaring war against Russia during World War I from 314 to 18. And 8, Rome and Germany united 8 countries declaring war against Russia again during World War III, because the Pope received a message from the image in 1917 to consecrate Russia to her. And 9, now the Pope, who represents Rome, united with Germany again, and trying to get 192 countries instigating war against Russia, because the image spoke to force Russia and the world to worship the image. The point is to show that Rome is clearly the beast kingdom that makes war against all who will not worship his image. And also points out that the Roman Church instigates and the state declares war. And we must be ready for Revelation 20, verse 8, called the Gog and Magog War, where Rome leads his 3 allies to the place called Armageddon in Israel. Because the scary thing is that after they try to force Russia to worship the image, they will go after every country. And last, Israel, as all the prophets predicted, including Mecca and Muslim countries everywhere, who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And with this slide, I'd like to remind you about my previous videos, because people are dying and are not aware that the Pope is instigating World War III, because the image of the beast spoke in 2017 to force Russia and the world to accept the image. So I pray that people start questioning the USA motives and using our tax dollars to get our young kids killed, yet more importantly, sin against God for killing innocent people that will not worship the image of the Roman Empire. Now I'd like to encourage people to watch this documentary about John F. K., who spoke about a genuine peace, but was betrayed by his own because he tried to make peace with Russia, similar to what happened to President Trump. Yet I believe if we want peace, first we need to start by listening to John F. K.'s famous speech in June of 1963 at the American University, titled A Strategy for Peace Around the World. Yet I will paraphrase it, and what he's implying to, he said, what kind of peace do I mean? Not a Pax Americana enforced on the world by American weapons of war. And he was basically implying to not Pax Romana, a false peace. And he goes on to say, I am talking about a genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind of that enables men and nations to grow, to hope and build a better life for our children, not merely peace for Americans, but the entire world. Some say that it is useless to speak of peace with Russia, but I also believe that we must examine our own attitude to bring peace. Nevertheless, some say his peace plan with Russia and trying to denazify the CIA was what got him killed 6 months later in Dallas, Texas, in which I hope someone confirms if these things are true. Because the bad news that the problem has resurfaced during President Donald J. Trump's term. There are many Democrats that want war with Russia, plus want to disarm us like the Nazis did, in which I saw two great presidents that love their country and only want real peace with the world and to protect us from harm. So still, we need to unite the United States because it's our last hope for protection when God judges the world. So please wake up and seek truth and vote for wise men who will protect us, because God is going to judge us for what we did or did not do on this earth. The point is, the Bible warns us the real scary things are coming, just like Jesus tried to warn the people in Luke chapter 19 through 21, before the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 AD. I like to read Luke chapter 19, 41. It says, Now as Jesus drew near, he saw the city and wept, saying, If you had known, especially in this day, the things that make for your peace. But now they are hidden from your eyes, for days will come upon you when your enemies, referring to the Roman Empire, will build an embankment around you, surround you, close you in on every side, and level you, your children, to the ground, because you did not know the time of your visitation. And Luke 21 says, he said, Take heed that you are not deceived. Many will come in my name, saying, I am he. But when you hear wars and commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. Then he said to them, Nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms, and there will be great earthquakes and famines and pestilence, and there will be a fearful sight and great signs from heaven. Basically, Jesus warned them about the Old Testament 4 horsemen or disasters that God released because sin reached the heavens, and it's going to happen again. The point of reading Luke is that I'm trying to conclude who the beast is and explain that Jesus was trying to show us real peace, but the same enemy that destroyed the Second Temple distracted the people from seeing it. Yet, he has revived under a different name. Let me briefly explain what happened to 2 previous temples by using my 3 temple charts. The first and second and third temple shows that God pronounces wrath because the state foolish leaders created laws that turned people away from God, and false church turned people to accept the image of the kingdom. The first temple was destroyed in 586 because Jezebel, meaning the church of Baal, seduced Judah to set his mother's image, called the Queen of Heaven, inside the temple. Then he sent the Babylonians to burn it down. The second temple was destroyed in 70 AD because the Romans mixed the priesthood and tried to set his image inside the temple. But the saints fought against it, and Rome cursed God and burned the temple down. The third temple is not yet, but coming soon, and I'm trying to warn you because Scripture indicates that the name of the beast is Rome, who will try again to set up the Queen of Heaven, mother of Baal, inside the third temple. But the godly Jews and Christians will fight against it as they did during the second temple. Yet, war is not scary compared to seeing Jesus and the 7 trumpet angels destroy those who accept the mark and the image of Rome. Nevertheless, the third temple gives us the most hope when we hear the seventh trumpet. God will deliver us before he destroys those who listen to the lies. Meanwhile, please go to my website and request a Book of Revelation wall chart that will help you understand it by paralleling the events yourself. And I hope you help me reach billions of people by sending this presentation to your friends and asking your pastors and rabbis to invite me to your assemblies and conferences to prepare people before they build the third temple, so you won't run weary when these things happen. With that said, I'd like to end by reminding you that today's presentation was to confirm the name of the beast that revived under Rome and the United Nations. Nevertheless, I have so much more to share with you in other videos, so please pray for my ministry that focuses on uniting and teaching difficult scripture that some misunderstand or false teachers hinder from knowing the truth. Still, I'd like to thank you all for listening and writing comments that help me create better videos. And please, if you like this presentation, 1, give me a like, 2, hit the subscribe button to get notified of my next video or schedule event, and watch the next video that identifies the beast and prepares you for the third temple. And 3, support my ministry to make better videos, and I will send you one of my charts. And lastly, I pray that God gives you understanding, wisdom, and boldness for the love of God and truth that gives us hope in heaven. God bless.